Oh, my dear, dear friends, if you're sitting there with a warm cup of tea or a soft blanket wrapped around your shoulders right now, I'm so deeply grateful you've chosen to spend this time with me. My voice still trembles a little every time I begin this story, even after all these months of quiet healing, because some pains settle into your bones and refuse to leave completely. My name is Eleanor Grace Thompson. I turned 68 this past spring, and for nearly 7 decades of life, I held on to one gentle, unshakable belief with all my heart, that a grandmother's love, the kind that shows up at 3 a.m. with soup when a child is sick, the kind that quietly pays bills no one else sees, the kind that listens for hours on the porch swing without ever asking for thanks, could survive any storm life tried to throw at a family. I can still smell the exact mix of sharp hospital antiseptic, fresh linen, and that sweet, powdery newborn warmth on the stormy March night when my grandson Tyler first came into the world. The clock on the wall read 3:17 a.m. when my phone lit up with Michael's call. His voice trembled with a raw mixture of pure terror and overwhelming joy. "Mum, she's here. Lisa just had the baby. Please, come right now. I need you here with me." I drove through sheets of cold rain that hammered the windshield like angry fists, wipers fighting a losing battle, my heart pounding in perfect rhythm with the thunder rolling overhead. When the tired nurse finally placed that tiny, wrinkled, 8-pound miracle into my arms, Tyler opened his hazel eyes, the exact same warm hazel with tiny golden flecks that my late husband, Robert, had, and looked straight into my soul as if he already knew me. In that holy, sacred instant, something deep inside my widowed heart, still raw and aching from losing Robert to that sudden heart attack 10 years earlier, began to stitch itself back together piece by piece. I pressed my lips to his velvety soft forehead, tears falling freely onto the little blue hospital blanket, and whispered, "Little one, Grandma Eleanor is going to love you bigger than the sky, wider than the ocean, and longer than forever. No matter what storms come our way, I will always be your safe place." And I kept that promise with every single beat of my heart for the next 18 years. I became his steady, unbreakable anchor in a world that could feel so uncertain. Every single Saturday morning, without fail, I rose before the sun even thought about peeking over the horizon, packed a thermos of rich, creamy hot cocoa, fresh blueberry muffins still warm from the oven, and a small cooler with sliced apples and cheese, then drove 2 long, quiet hours to sit on those freezing metal bleachers at his soccer games. I cheered until my voice cracked and went hoarse, waving a handmade poster board sign with his jersey number 7 painted in bright blue. Even when the team lost by one heartbreaking goal in the final minute, and Tyler's little shoulders slumped in disappointment when he was only 6 years old, I would sit cross-legged on my faded floral living room carpet for hours at a time, surrounded by thousands of colorful Lego pieces scattered like bright confetti, helping him build soaring rocket ships in space, stationed while he chatted non-stop in his high, excited voice about his big dream of becoming an aerospace engineer one day. "Grandma," he'd say with chocolate chip cookie crumbs from my fresh-baked batch scattered across his freckled cheeks and little hands, "when I build real rockets and fly all the way to Mars, you're sitting right next to me in the co-pilot seat, and we'll wave at the stars together and eat cookies in space." "Okay," I'd laugh softly, pull him into my lap, and breathe in the sweet strawberry scent of his shampoo, mixed with the pureness and joy of childhood and the faint smell of grass from playing outside earlier when he turned 12 and the orthodontist said he needed braces because his teeth were coming in so crooked they made him self-conscious about smiling in school photos. And Michael and Lisa were drowning under work stress, mounting bills, and tight finances that year after Michael's company had layoffs. I wrote the full check quietly at my kitchen table one evening without a single word of hesitation or expectation of repayment. I stayed up late many nights at my old wooden sewing table by the window, hand-stitching his Halloween costumes with love stitched into every seam, an elaborate pirate outfit complete with a stuffed parrot on the shoulder, a black eye patch, and gold buttons one year, a detailed homemade astronaut suit with shiny silver duct tape accents, a helmet visor cut from clear plastic, and glowing LED lights the next. I always kept his favorite soft blue quilt folded neatly on the bed in my spare room, a shelf above it stocked with his beloved adventure books, a nightlight shaped like a rocket ship that projected stars on the ceiling, and a small glass jar of his favorite sour candies ready for whenever he needed to escape the tension at home. He ran to me on those difficult evenings when Michael and Lisa's raised voices echoed too loudly behind their closed bedroom door, sometimes slamming doors and leaving little Tyler standing in the hallway with wide, scared eyes. Lisa would sometimes sigh loudly in the kitchen and mutter under her breath that I was a bit over-involved for a grandmother, but I would simply offer a gentle smile, hand her a fresh cup of tea, and remind myself in my heart that real, deep love doesn't keep scorecards or wait for gratitude. It simply keeps showing up, day after day, year after year, through the good times and the hard ones. As Tyler's senior year of high school finally drew to a close, and graduation season arrived like a long-awaited sunrise after a long, cold winter, a gentle, glowing excitement began to bloom inside me that I hadn't allowed myself to feel since Robert was still here to share these moments. I had secretly ordered his graduation gift 6 full months earlier, an elegant silver watch with a deep navy blue face, genuine leather strap, and a quiet second hand that ticked with steady confidence. On the back I had it engraved in delicate, flowing cursive by the jeweler downtown, "To my brightest star, dream big, my love. Always, Grandma Eleanor." I could already picture the exact moment I would place it in his hands after the ceremony, watching that crooked, joyful smile I loved so much light up his whole face as he hugged me tight. I'd even allowed myself a small, joyful luxury and bought a beautiful, soft lavender silk dress, the exact shade Tyler had once complimented when I wore it to his middle school awards night, saying it made me look like a graceful queen from those old black and white movies. "You love, Grandma." I imagined myself sitting proudly in the audience, dabbing happy tears with the laced handkerchief Robert had given me on our 30th anniversary, as they called his name, and he walked across the polished wooden stage, tassels swinging with each confident step. I whispered silent prayers of gratitude for the remarkable young man he had become right before my eyes. The entire week leading up to the ceremony, Michael had been strangely vague and distracted during our usual Sunday evening phone calls. "Mom, it's shaping up to be a small, intimate family gathering this time around. We'll text you all the exact details, time, venue, parking instructions, everything, once the venue confirms the final head count and we sort out the seating chart." A tiny, uneasy thread tugged at my chest, but I pushed it away with the patience I had practiced for decades through widowhood and raising my son alone. Families get busy with last-minute details, visiting in-laws, work pressures, and the heavy emotions that come with big life milestones. I understood. Life had taught me that over and over. So instead of letting worry take root, I spent an entire sunny afternoon baking Tyler's all-time favorite lemon blueberry cake from scratch, the one with the tangy glaze he used to lick straight from the plate as a little boy, humming old hymns while the kitchen filled with a sweet citrusy smell. I wrapped the silver watch with extra care in shimmering gold paper, tied it with a satin blue ribbon, and placed it like a small, sacred treasure right in the center of my old oak kitchen table, beside the faded, framed photo of Robert cradling baby Tyler in his strong arms on that very first day in the hospital, that final night before the big day. I slipped beneath my quilt with a peaceful, hopeful smile on my face. The ceiling fan turned lazily overhead as I stared into the soft darkness and whispered, "Tomorrow is going to be one of the happiest days of my entire life. I'll finally get to stand proudly beside my grandson and show him and the whole world just how endlessly, deeply proud I am of the remarkable young man he has become." But what I didn't know on that quiet, hopeful evening, what my trusting, devoted, and open heart could never have imagined, even in my darkest, loneliest, widow's nights when the house felt too empty and the memories too loud, was that while I slept soundly beneath my quilt, dreaming of proud cheers, flashing cameras, warm family hugs, the proud look on Tyler's face when he saw me, and the way his eyes would light up when I handed him the watch, my own son and daughter were hosting Tyler's entire graduation celebration, the full ceremony, the long dinner, the laughter, the photographs, the toasts, the balloons, the banner without me, no phone call, no saved seat in the back row, no mention whatsoever, not even a single text to say, "We'll see you there." Morning sunlight filtered softly through my lace curtains the next day, painting golden patterns across the kitchen floor and the old oak table. I rose early as always, humming an old hymn that Robert used to sing to me on Sunday mornings, and brewed a fresh pot of coffee, its rich, comforting aroma filling the sunny kitchen and wrapping around me like a warm hug from the past. I carefully pressed my lavender dress on the ironing board, smoothing every tiny wrinkle with love and a little spritz of the lavender linen spray I kept for special occasions. Then checked my phone on the counter, expecting at least a quick, excited message from Michael. "Mom, the ceremony doors open at 6. We saved you a good seat right up front with a clear view of the stage." What greeted me instead was a sudden flood of Facebook notifications that made my stomach twist into a tight, cold knot deep inside. A sweet older lady from my longtime church book club had tagged me in a celebratory post titled "Proud Grandparents." My fingers trembled as I tapped it open with a growing sense of dread. Dozens of brightly lit, colorful photos loaded one after another in sharp detail. There was Tyler, standing so tall and handsome in his navy cap and gown under the bright gymnasium lights, that familiar, crooked, joyful smile lighting up his entire face like sunshine breaking through clouds. Michael stood proudly beside him, arm draped protectively over his son's shoulders, beaming like the perfect, accomplished father in his crisp button-down shirt. Lisa glowed in a sleek new emerald green designer dress I had never seen her wear before, laughing openly and freely with her own parents and 3 sisters, who had apparently flown in from out of state at the last minute. Long banquet tables overflowed with expensive catered delicacies, prime rib carved to order, fresh seafood platters on ice, elaborate layered cakes and desserts that looked like they came from a high-end magazine spread, colorful balloons. In the school, colors floated lazily above a large, glittering banner that proudly declared, "Congratulations, Tyler, we're so proud of you," in bold letters, and in not one single photograph. Was there any trace of me? Not in the background. Not even a casual mention in any of the captions or comments. The beautifully wrapped gold package on my kitchen table suddenly felt crushing, like it held the weight of every unnoticed year of love I had given without ever asking for anything in return. My knees gave way completely. I sank slowly into the wooden chair, the room spinning around me as though the floor had vanished beneath my feet and the walls were closing in. The pain didn't crash in like thunder or dramatic screams. It arrived as a deep, bone, hollow ache that spread through my chest and limbs, filling every empty space Robert's death had left behind years ago. Every quiet sacrifice I had made, every time I had put their needs before my own. With shaking hands I dialed Michael's number. He answered on the 3rd ring, sounding hurried and distracted by background noise and chatter from what sounded like people still cleaning up. Hey, last night turned into absolute chaos. The venue was much smaller than we anticipated. Lisa's whole family arrived unexpectedly from out of state, and we had to rearrange tables and seating on the fly just to fit everyone, Michael. I cut in softly, my voice fragile and cracking like thin old porcelain that had been dropped one too many times. I wasn't even invited. A long, heavy silence stretched across the phone line, thick enough to feel like a physical weight pressing on my chest. Then the excuses began pouring out, each one landing like a small, sharp stone against my already bruised heart. "We honestly didn't want to burden you. Mum, you've already carried so much for all of us over the years. We thought you might be tired after everything you'd done. Plus, you know how particular Lisa's family can be about these formal events. They have their own traditions and ways of doing things, and we didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable." Particular. That single, carefully polished word echoed in my mind like a cold stone dropped into still water, sending painful ripples through every cherished memory I held close. All the quiet checks I had written without hesitation for Tyler's school, trips, sports fees, supplies, even his first car insurance when their household budget was strained. All the countless weekends I had kept him overnight at my house so Michael and Lisa could finally have rare, uninterrupted date nights, or simply catch up on sleep after long work weeks. Or the Thanksgivings, Christmases, birthdays, and even ordinary Tuesdays I had hosted at my home so Lisa wouldn't feel overwhelmed with cooking and cleaning for a crowd. The subtle times I had overheard her dismiss my gentle advice as old-fashioned, or seen her roll her eyes when I offered an extra pair of helping hands. I had chosen forgiveness every single time, telling myself that true love rises above small hurts and keeps giving anyway. I ended the call without another word, the phone slipping from my fingers onto the table with a soft thud that sounded too loud in the empty kitchen. For the next 3 long, heavy days, I barely left the house. Food tasted like ash, I could manage only a few bites of toast or soup. Sleep came in shattered pieces filled with haunting dreams of sitting alone in a vast, empty auditorium while distant laughter and applause echoed from another room I couldn't reach. The lavender dress hung untouched and lonely in my closet, like a silent witness to the day that never included me. My beloved porch swing, the same one where Tyler and I had spent hundreds of golden afternoons talking about life, dreams, stars, his fears about the future, and even his first crush, became my only real refuge. I rocked back and forth slowly, staring at the flower garden we had once planted together with our bare hands, feeling truly invisible for the first time in nearly 7 decades of life. On the 4th day, Tyler called me himself. His young voice sounded small, genuinely confused, and deeply hurt. "Grandma, during the whole ceremony I kept scanning the crowd looking for you. Dad told me you were busy with something really important, but I wanted you there more than anything. I kept looking for your lavender dress. Why didn't you come? I missed you so much, it hurt." The tears I had been holding back finally spilled over then. I couldn't bring myself to paint over the truth for him. "Sweetheart," I said gently, my voice thick with emotion, "sometimes the grown-ups who are supposed to protect the hearts of those they love make choices that leave unexpected, painful marks. But please hear me clearly. I was cheering for you with every single beat of my heart, even if my chair in the audience stayed empty. I am so incredibly, endlessly proud of the kind, brilliant young man you have become." That conversation marked the beginning of a profound, painful shift deep inside me. The endless cycle of giving, always being available, serving as the invisible emotional and financial glue for the family. It had finally cracked me wide open. I quietly cancelled the automatic monthly transfers I had been making for years to help ease their household bills. I responded to Lisa's sudden stream of overly friendly text messages with polite but brief replies, no longer rushing to offer help or visits. I started walking every single morning at first light, feeling the cool dew on the grass beneath my shoes and the warm sunrise on my face, whispering affirmations to myself that I still had a rich, meaningful life waiting beyond the role of constant safety net. I joined a warm, welcoming book club at the local library, where women my age shared stories, laughter, and tea without any hidden expectations. I even booked a peaceful solo weekend getaway to the quiet coastal place Robert and I had often dreamed of visiting together but never quite managed because I was always too busy supporting my son's growing family. Sitting alone on the beach, listening to the steady rhythm of the waves crashing on the shore, I began to truly understand that my worth as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, was not defined solely by how much I sacrificed for people who could so easily erase me on one of the most important milestones of my grandson's young life. The emotional struggle during those days was exhausting and all-consuming. Some nights the loneliness pressed down so heavily I would cry until my eyes were swollen and my pillows soaked, quietly asking the empty rooms of my house why my steady, faithful love had somehow become so disposable. Other nights, beneath the raw heartbreak, a quiet, steel-like inner strength began to take root, the kind of resilient strength that only emerges when a woman finally decides, after years of quiet self-erasure, that she deserves to be seen, valued, and respected for who she is. Exactly 1 week after the graduation celebration I had been so carefully excluded from, the phone rang at precisely 8 o'clock on a still Tuesday evening. Michael's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring twice, taking slow, steady breaths before I answered. Something in my spirit felt calmer and more grounded than it had in many days. "Mom, we really need to talk. It's serious." His voice came through unsteady and stripped of its usual confident tone. In the background I could hear Lisa crying softly, almost pleadingly. Tyler found out the full truth from one of his close friends who had seen all the graduation photos and openly asked why you weren't there. "He's devastated and furious with us. He says he won't accept any financial help from us for his first semester at college unless you're brought back incompletely. And the college fund you've been faithfully contributing to for years. We were really depending on that money to cover the remaining costs." Lisa's parents unexpectedly pulled their promised support at the last minute. "We're short, Ma. Really short. We're begging you. Please help us figure this out." I closed my eyes and let a meaningful silence stretch between us. Like a clear mirror they were finally being forced to look into after years of taking things for granted. When I finally spoke, My voice was calm, measured, and carried the full weight of every quiet sacrifice I had made across nearly 2 decades. Michael, for 18 long years I have poured my heart, my precious time, my emotional energy, and my hard-earned savings into that boy because I love him more deeply than words could ever capture. I rocked him through fevers and nightmares when he was small. I covered expenses you and Lisa struggled with at different times. I celebrated every small victory and comforted every disappointment as if it were my own. On the one single day when the entire world should have witnessed how profoundly proud his grandmother was of him, you and Lisa chose to hide me away, like an inconvenient shadow or an embarrassment best kept out of sight. You chose comfort, social appearances, and keeping peace with one side of the family over the woman who has quietly been the steady support holding this family together through so many difficult seasons. Lisa's crying grew louder and more desperate on the line. Mike's voice broke entirely, raw with regret. "We were so terribly wrong, Mum. We got swept up in the pressure of the moment and the expectations from her family. We never meant to hurt you this deeply or make you feel erased. We see it clearly now, please. Just tell us what we need to do to make this right. We'll do anything you ask." I had already reached my decision during the quiet, reflective hours of those painful days when my tears had finally slowed and a clear sense of self-worth replaced the sharp ache. The college fund I built remains completely untouched. Every penny is still safely there, but I have quietly restructured it into a dedicated trust account in Tyler's name alone. He will receive the money directly from me whenever he needs it for his education, with no intermediaries and no conditions attached to anyone else. I will also be present at his college move-in day because he reached out and personally asked me to stand beside him. As for you and Lisa, I still carry love for you both in my heart. What love will never vanish completely, but love without consistent respect and appreciation eventually becomes nothing more than a convenient expectation. You would need to earn a closer, healthier place back in my daily life through steady, thoughtful actions over time, not just urgent words spoken in a moment of financial or emotional desperation. They arrived at my front door the very next afternoon, both appearing pale, exhausted, and deeply humbled in a way I had rarely seen. Tyler stood tall and protective between them, his eyes redrimmed from emotion, but shining with quiet determination. The moment he saw me, he broke away immediately and ran into my open arms, holding me tightly as if afraid I might disappear. I told them straight out that I wouldn't start this next chapter without you being fully part of it. "Grandma," he whispered against my shoulder, voice thick. "You've always been the one who truly showed up for me, no matter what." In that warm, fierce, healing embrace, I felt the shattered pieces of my heart begin to mend themselves slowly, not because my son and daughter-in-law had begged out of necessity, but because my grandson had bravely chosen honesty, loyalty, and love over pressure and convenience. I extended forgiveness to them that afternoon, but it was a forgiveness wrapped carefully in clear, gentle, and firm boundaries that I vowed to honor for my own peace. No more automatic, unasked for financial support. No more serving as the default event planner, emotional buffer, or on-call helper. No more quietly dimming my own needs and presence to keep others comfortable. With patience, honest conversations, and small, consistent steps, we began the slow work of rebuilding something healthier, more balanced, and more respectful than the one-sided dynamic we had fallen into over the years. My dear friends who have stayed with me through every part of this deeply personal story tonight, if anything I've shared has touched even a small corner of your heart or stirred quiet recognition inside you, please hold on to this hard-earned truth I learned through tears and healing. Never allow anyone, not even your own flesh and blood, to make you feel small, invisible, or unworthy simply because you chose to love openly, deeply, and without keeping score. Your kindness, devotion, and steady presence are not weaknesses to be exploited or discarded when they become inconvenient. They are your quiet, enduring power and your greatest light. When the people who should cherish and protect your heart instead choose to break it or set it aside, you do not need loud confrontation, bitter revenge, or dramatic battles. Sometimes the most powerful and graceful form of justice is simply rising with quiet dignity, fiercely protecting your own peace and worth, and allowing them to witness the strength, beauty, and light they nearly lost forever by taking you for granted. I am still Eleanor Grace Thompson. still breathing, still open to love, but now wiser and more protective of my own heart. And my grandson Tyler's future shines even brighter today, because his grandmother refused to fade quietly into the background when it would have been so much easier to do so. Thank you, from the bottom of my slowly healing heart, for holding gentle space for my story this evening. Remember this always, my friends. True family is not defined only by shared blood. It is defined by who consistently chooses to show up with respect, appreciation, and love when it matters most. And the greatest legacy any of us can ever leave behind is the graceful strength, self-worth, and boundaries we model when others fall short.